This is the Good Grief, Good God Show, where we feature raw, honest conversation about surviving things that suck. Today's episode starts in just over 2 minutes, so feel free to skip ahead and jump right in. Now, a quick host and guest introduction followed by a short preview of today's episode. Your host, songwriter Brad Warren of the Warren Brothers, has written songs recorded by artists including Tim McGraw and Faith Hill to Taylor Swift and Leonard Skinner, with 9 reaching #1. But Brad's purpose goes far beyond songwriting. This show, created in the honor of Brad Michelle's son Sage, who was tragically lost to fentanyl poisoning, offers a space for guests to share deeply personal stories of resilience, hope, and faith. For today's episode, Brad welcomes a Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame inductee, a man whose words have given voice to country music's biggest stars, from Garth Brooks and George Strait to Tim McGraw, Carrie Underwood, and Kenny Chesney. Tom Douglas. Tom's songwriting credits include Lady A's 2009 CMA Single of the Year, I Run to You, Chris Janson's MusicRow's Song of the Year in 2019, Drunk Girl, and Miranda Lambert's The House That Built Me, one of the most decorated songs in modern country music, earning both the CMA and ACM Song of the Year honors, and recognized in 2019 as the ACM Song of the Decade. Tom is also the creative mind behind the acclaimed film Love, Tom, available on Apple TV and Amazon. It's a poetic, soul-searching reflection on faith, family, and the art of songwriting. Here's a short preview of today's episode.
And that's the beauty of your career. You've never been the hottest writer in town. You're just the best. You haven't ever settled for commercial success.
I have tried. Honestly, I really have. I've chased it for years unsuccessfully. And, I think we all want to be somebody that we're not. Actors want to be songwriters, and songwriters want to be actors, and producers want to be directors.
Athletes want to be rappers. And
yes, it's just...
Songwriters want to be podcasters.
Well...
How ridiculous is that?
This is a good use of your time and resources.
Today's episode is presented by Songwriter City, where the songwriters take center stage. Their shows blend hits with the powerful stories behind them, creating unforgettable experiences. Book your favorite songwriter, including the Warren Brothers, at your next event by visiting songwritercity.com. The Good Grief, Good God Show is dedicated in loving memory of Sage Michael Warren. Executive producers Brad and Michelle Warren, segment producer Lisa Bolt.
Well, I did put the air on a little bit because it was a little warm, but are you warm? Okay, I'm usually cold, but he's always hot.
So where in Houston are you, Matt?
Cypress, Cyfair.
Okay.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Northwest.
And Tom's a Texas boy. Did you know that?
Yeah, where you from?
I spent 13 years in Dallas.
Dallas? What years?
84 to 97.
Days too. Poor David's Pub.
Yes. Yeah.
Put millions.
Yeah.
The only bar I still know that only accepts cash.
Is that right?
Does not take credit.
Only cash.
Recently.
So do people have to run out and go to the ATM when they get there, or they just know, but don't go there without cash?
No.
Yeah. Just that bar. What's the bar in Drayton Beach that everyone, the Red Bar? The Red Bar. You go and they only accepted cash, and then it's suspiciously burnt down one day. I'm like, they weren't doing anything illegal there for sure.
How did you guys become friends?
That's crazy. So we, about right after Sage died, a year and a half, something like that, we did that Mac, Jack, and McConaughey event in Austin. Yes. I don't know if you've ever done that with him. And he was in catering. He was doing Jack Ingram's podcast, and we're just in catering.
Oh, I remember that now. Yes.
And he had seen Brett and I on a Jesus Calling podcast, and then something else, and he thought it was our own podcast. And I said, no, that was Jesus Calling podcast, not ours. And he said, man, you should do it. He said, I do podcasts. You should do a podcast on grief. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe. I'm absolutely not going to do that ever. And so we switched phone numbers, and he called me a couple of times. We ended up talking for like an hour, a few different times. And I would tell Michelle, I talked to this guy, that's podcast. I mean, I'm absolutely not going to do it. It doesn't sound like any fun at all to have a podcast about grief. I want to be Joe Rogan and talk about fighting and, and at some point she just said, oh, you're doing this podcast, right? And I said, is that an order or a prediction? She's like,
take your choice.
Either.
Right.
And so we started doing it. So he flies here. I mean, yeah, he kind of just flew here, and we did this first thing with you.
And that was how long ago?
This is the 3rd season. So I guess the 3rd year, 3 years ago. Is that about right, Matt?
Yep. 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And Sage died what year? 2020?
2020.
Summer of 2020.
So May 18th of 2020, which is, it's interesting too. The year before, you know how you look back in the great years, you didn't necessarily know they were great while they were happening.
Right.
But the year before was the greatest year of my life, and I knew it. Like I knew it. It was my 50.
2019.
2019. I was 50 years old, and I would say this is the best year of my life. I don't know how I knew that. It's great. He got sober, which was a big thing when you struggle with a child in your own sobriety, you know. But there's no doubt, and I recognized it at the time. I was like, this is the greatest year of my life. This is so odd. As I look back, I'm like, how did I know that was going to be it? That's your year. Matt, are you ready for us? He's already been filming. We have to watch what we say when we sit down. Tom Douglas. Let me read. I have a quote for everyone when we start.
Oh, I like that.
Your quote is from Joseph Chilton Pierce. To live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong.
I love that.
I think that's very you. So I mean, I don't know who the audience is, you know, but I do like to give a little background. You are a Hall of Fame songwriter, obviously, but you are also mine and my brother's mentors. You've discovered us, for whatever that means, got us signed to our publishing and record deal, and wrote the songs that taught us how to write songs. So we were just talking about in there that people say, Tom Douglas is your mentor? I didn't think he would even talk to you. But our journey is interesting. And then just if it was just based on sitting here without cameras going, as we go in life every year or so, I just want to sit down and get your opinion.
I like that.
Because you have wisdom.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. You've been wrong occasionally, but it's never super wrong. It's always, but typically I've gotten the greatest life guiding advice from you. So if that's all we did, but we got to talk about Love Tom. I want to talk about our industry and what you think about it, how we enter it, how do we exit it, all that kind of stuff. But just starting with, you have an amazing, is it on Hulu? Love Tom?
It's on Apple TV and Amazon.
Apple TV and Amazon. It's called Love Tom. It's Tom Douglas special. Every writer, I don't care if you want to write magazine articles, novels, songs, or jingles, whatever. Watch that, or don't complain about not being a real writer. It's absolutely, there's two things. Read On Writing from Stephen King, and watch Love Tom. If you don't do those things, then you've just missed every shortcut you can possibly get. So starting off with that, I just, kind of love to hear your story as we get to hear it. So everyone's got a story.
Everybody's got a story. And
yours is as fascinating as, maybe not as fascinating as everyone else's, but you know how to tell it better than everyone else. And that's maybe the trick.
What chapter, what aspect?
Yeah, I think all of it, because I think how you do it in Love Tom, and I don't expect you to recreate it here, but I do think there's an element of how you were raised, your relationship with your father that showed up in your writing that turned you into. A lot of people write a lot of songs that are great. And we are all in the button pushing business, push a button, and sometimes it's humor. And sometimes it's a great weekend, but you truly, without necessarily no ass kissing here, have written songs that change people's life. More than anyone else I know. You don't have the most hits, by the way. I know guys with more money than you, so I'll calm the butt kissing there. But you really have. So I think a little bit of your backstory leads to how you've written and what you've written about.
Well, we are informed by obviously our families growing up. So both my parents were children of the Depression. My father was born in 1911. My mother was born in 1917. So then they were older when they got married and older when they had me and my sister. But that, who they are and where they came from, children of the Depression, that really did inform them. And so the two kind of principal foundations in my family were job security and education. So my father had the same job with U.S. Steel for literally 45 years. I mean, he was a salesman with U.S. Steel. He didn't get demoted and he never got promoted. He loved being a salesman with U.S. Steel. He loved it. So, but he was very creative and very musical. And my mother was an interior decorator, and she was very creative too. So there was a lot of creativity in my household, although it wasn't really revealed and I mean, my father played the ukulele and piano, and they sang. He did love songs. He loved them. So, I mean, I kind of grew up with that, but the tension of job security and education, there was always this tension. So, and my parents did really sacrifice for me to get the education that I got. I went to a private high school. I went to college. I went to graduate school. So I really did want to kind of honor my parents' sacrifice. At the same time, I had this poet that was, in my head that was always trying to get out. And I went nuts over the Beatles and Elton John. And, I kind of grew up, I think, in the golden era of music. I guess everybody thinks that. I grew up with James Taylor and Springsteen and Dylan and Jackson Brown and the Eagles and you name it. I mean,
that is the golden era of music.
I mean,
people can argue,
do you really
but
think that? Even though, we're 20 years.
I missed it by a little bit. I wish I was a little older yeah, absolutely.
But anyway.
We've rediscovered Elton John recently, by the way. Brilliant.
Crazy. Crazy, right? So anyway, I guess kind of the long and the short of it is I really always have felt this uneasy relationship with creativity and songwriting. I think because I was imprinted with this, there's a responsibility that you have, with your background and how you're raised and, these things that you love, always trying to kind of reconcile these things that they're not easily reconciled. So, I mean, I guess the point of it is, and I still feel that tension, that unresolvable tension of creativity and responsibility.
Okay, so let me ask you this: is that tension? Is it weird that I'm making a living at this still?
Yes,
I still have that.
Right.
And by the way, part of this great. I'm like, oh my God, I get up and kind of do what I want.
Right.
But there's also the pressure of, boy, I really have to work hard at this because what my dad said is, how we work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your father would have been maybe done this for a living if he had been born in a different era? And you feel the pressure of like, I need to do what they did.
Yeah. I mean, some of it is, we carry on the, sons and fathers, it's almost like there is a desire and really, I think, a responsibility to carry on the dreams of our father. And I think that's really what I did. I mean, it was never pronounced. And I think both my parents thought anything I did with music should only be a hobby and an avocation.
Because it wasn't a good way to make a living?
Honestly, it's not a good way to make a living. I mean, I still think it's a very precarious way to make a living. And I would not suggest, I'm the outlier. I never suggest people move to Nashville.
I never suggest people do this, but if you can't not do
it,
and you're not going to sleep well, until you do it, then you might need to be here to win. But I'm with you. I don't think it is not, unless you are obsessed with this. You had a career, by the way, makes you unique. You had an actual career in commercial real estate or whatever before you did this, which might have kept you from this.
Yeah. So I guess to circle back and to close the loop on the long winding thing that I started with, which is in life, there are many unresolvable tensions. And one of my tensions is responsibility, fear of creativity, also this, passion and feeling like God created me to do this. So I spent, I think, many years trying to resolve the tension between the two. And I think they're unresolvable. I think you have to learn to live with unresolvable tensions of the things that you may naturally desire and the things that you can do and the things that you can't. I mean, there's still desires that you and I have from, cravings, addictions that are, I mean, it's not like they just go away, but you you learn to live in the tension of things that are unresolvable. I think you and I deal with it through the grace of God.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, my relationship with music is still, it's an unresolvable tension that I've learned.
And that's
to
where the
live
genius
with.
comes from, is the tension.
I think it is.
And it kind of sucks because you never really get to the end of the movie, do you?
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
You're the truest of poets, because I know that you never feel like you've written, and arguably you may have written the perfect song a couple times. But I know that you don't think so.
Right.
And I know that that guy disturbs you more. My grandparents were depression people, but I didn't get enough of that. It was just with us, literally, like, this is sinful and it's wasteful, and it's definitely not a way to make a living. You're going to wind up being 50 years old playing at bars if you do pursue this. So part of my look back is a nenny nenny boo boo, and to the how I grew up, and wow, we make a living. You get older. I mean, all the kind of, you can just sit and observe it. You've been successful? Can you just make peace while you're still creating, but make peace with the idea that, hey man, this is a great run. I've been successful. I haven't done everything exactly right, but man, what a great. I mean, do you have moments of peace? You're at a place where you're in the Hall of Fame.
I do have a. Honestly, I would not say it's peaceful. There is, I'm looking at the serenity prayer. There is serenity, but it's not peaceful. There is still this burning passion that I have to create something. It sounds negative, but it is unrelenting. I kind of wish that it were relenting, but it is unrelenting.
You said one time, you told us you always have a low grade anxiety.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's just. And the thing is, now we take care of that with pills and whatever. But that low grade anxiety is probably what made your living for the last 40 years. But
yeah, well, yeah. So it is a tension, and it is an anxiety. And again, I don't know if I was talking to a therapist or a psychologist, I don't know what they would say, but here's the way that I have learned to deal with it, which is I'm actually thankful for it. And I think it actually is a fuel. It actually is my superpower. Yep. My superpower is, man, when things they really cut deep. And it does bleed, but it actually is, yes, I am broken, but I'm broken open. And there's this amazing treasure trove of things that I can find through the pain. The pain is where the beauty is revealed. So I've actually come to embrace that and almost look for it.
My wife gave me a song idea that we've written with this new artist, Preston Cooper, that working with. It's going to be on his next record called Pretty Broken. Yes. And it's like, I'm pretty broken, but pretty broken. And you gave me the quote when Sage died, that the greater the pain, the greater the beauty. Mm. There is a difference between your low grade anxiety and the thing that you have to get off your shoulders and being obsessed with this business. Yeah. Or I never feel, and we've known each other a long time now. I've never felt like you're climbing the ladder aesthetically. You're climbing the ladder creatively. You just want to write a better song. Yeah. And you've always said to me, because we always sit around and talk about how we're panicked about songwriting not being a job. And you're like, man, if you do something great enough, they'll find a way to pay you for it. And it's refreshing. I have to remind myself, Brett and I always try to land our plane somewhere between you and Jay Joyce, because there's a lot of room in there.
Jay Joyce, I hope.
Yeah. No. I mean, as writers,
and I don't think I've ever met Jay Joyce.
Kidding?
Isn't that crazy? We've talked about that so many times.
You two have been our creative.
That's really wild.
We'll guiding lights.
We'll remedy that.
We need to remedy that. As a matter of fact, we'll remedy that. Now I should get Jay Joyce on here. And he's self-proclaimed, and I mean, absolutely the most creative person I've ever been in the room. He absolutely does not care what you think. He doesn't. I mean in the most refreshing way, like even a little bit, not rude. Well, I mean, it can be if it's the right time. If you're going to try to music business him, it just doesn't work.
That's so
he literally is looking for the creative buzz that's going to make him fill that hole, feel that feeling that happens. And he's like the musical version of what you are lyrically. You guys should write together. It'd be freaking insane. And I'm going to set it up so I get to be in the room.
Yes, I like that.
But that is a refreshing thing because we are filled with just the business. We talk about the business,
right.
Who's cutting what, where it's going, and you have just maintained. I just want to write the best song. And this morning you brought my wife a handwritten copy of The House That Built Me, and that song took you guys 7 years. That would be the one that I would say if there's a perfect song, that would be the one. But we go to work for you non-songwriters, you lucky people out there. We go and we write a whole song every other day.
Yeah.
And we demo and try to do it. And that particular song, it took you guys years to write that.
Yeah.
Because you went back and rewrote it. And I think we missed a lot of that. We write too many songs. I think we write too often and we don't make it special enough. And the music is reflective of that. And my publisher just had a cow, I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, I think if I had it to do over again, I would have written less songs. And
which ones would you have cut out?
Well, that's the problem, is that, I mean, the creativity is really the ultimate paradox, because it's not a numbers game, and yet it is a numbers game.
Turns into one.
It turns into one. I mean, so yeah. I mean, how many? You literally never know where when the magic's going to show up.
It's truly catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're not reaching for the top shelf, you're definitely not going to get there.
Right.
We miss all the time. And it's as big of a genius as you are, you have come up with some of the strangest. I remember the first time we wrote with you, we're like, oh my God, this guy's got a lot of things going on in his head. It's amazing, but that's how you get to the top shelf. You're like, these are the destinations. So when we moved to Nashville in 1995, that's a long time ago. We were introduced by our friend Buzz Kaysen, and you were just this guy that had you had one hit, and you had just moved. So you had just moved here from Dallas?
I didn't move here till 97.
And you were how old?
45.
45 years old. I mean, that would definitely be, if I met a 45-year-old songwriter, I'd say, keep your day job.
I know.
Don't need to hear your songs.
I would too. How'd
that happen?
Well, I mean, everybody, I don't make as many gross sweeping generalizations as I used to, because I was getting ready to say everybody has a circuitous route, but I wrote with a guy on Monday that's 21. He's been here for a year and a half, and he's got, 3 record deal offers, and every manager in town. It's like, that's pretty crazy.
The kid I was just talking about, Preston Cooper, we told him it's a 10-year town. Just get ready, move here. We had written a bunch of songs with him. We moved here in 6 months. He had a bidding war going on for us. So he'll have a circuitous route post-record.
Yeah, it will come for you at some point.
Yeah.
It comes for us all.
Yeah.
So it comes, and you never know when it's going to come. I guess the question is how you deal with it.
But yours is a rare story. 45 years old, a song contest or something,
I came here, and I kind of finally ran away from home. I'll back up a little bit. I went to college. I went to graduate school. Right out of college, I worked in real estate because that's what I thought you should do. And then that was pretty miserable, honestly. And then I went to graduate school just because I didn't want to go to graduate school, but I thought this will be an honorable way for me to spend 2 years while I kind of maybe figure it out. And went to graduate school. And then I sold television advertising for 2 years. But there was this shadow contingent of songwriters and publishers and kind of, wacky people that love songs like us. I had my normal friends, but then I actually had this contingent over here of the creatives. And finally the creatives won out, and I was 27, and I finally just said, I just can't do this legitimate thing anymore. And I kind of ran away from home for the first time at age 27. Mm-hmm. Now, the reality is my father was ill, and that was a considerable amount of chaos in my life, I was in Atlanta. And I think I was running from that. And so Nashville was kind of my escape route. So I moved here, I was 27. And I just kind of bounced around. And I mean, I had a few ways to make a living, but I didn't get anything going. And after about 4 years, if nothing's happening in Nashville, it is one of the loneliest places in the world. I would imagine it'd be like LA being a waiter, or Broadway being whatever. If you want to be on stage, it becomes suffocating. And
it's dark.
It's dark. It's very stark. It's in the scope of human history. People are like, really? And I know we talk in hyperbolic.
Yeah, nobody's starving, but it's dark.
It's just, there's an interior darkness that you cannot escape from. So anyway, I had to escape the darkness somehow. And my father was now living with me. So my father and I both moved to Dallas at the ripe old age of 31. And I reinvented myself as a real estate broker, commercial real estate broker. Got married and tried to quit music, tried to leave it all behind. And the poet occasionally would chase me down.
Were you playing in church? You were playing shows?
I didn't for years. Songs? I mean, I tried not to talk about it just because it's quite painful if it's something that you really love. And the truth is I really did not have I had the desire. I just didn't have the talent. It takes some of us just a long, long time to acquire this modicum of talent to be able to do this. I don't know how some people do it at 21. I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, I was at the ripe old age of 41, I kind of finally wrote my first song. I'd written many songs, but that moment,
real one, you mean?
that breakthrough is like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand what I'm doing.
Was that Little Rock?
That was Little Rock, yeah.
You've written a lot of songs, but that song's a masterpiece. I know you wrote that by yourself,
yeah.
And I know that it's. And then was it in a song contest? Is that how that?
No, I was at a song seminar in Austin. It was kind of an NSAI seminar in Austin in summer '93. And I reconnected with Paul Worley, who I'd known as a guitar player 10 years earlier. He was with Sony. I bought him 4 glasses of wine at a cocktail party, gave him a cassette, and miraculously he listened. And a couple of weeks later, he said, I want to run with a couple of these songs. And so they signed me to Sony and then got Collin Raye to record Little Rock.
It's a masterpiece. Wow. It really is. It's one of those, when you work here, you'll never write a better song than that in some ways. I know that it really is. There's something, I just remember I'm like selling VCRs in Arkansas at a Walmart. That has to be true. Like that has to be true or semi-true because no one would put that in a song if it wasn't.
We were talking about refrigerator art with Michelle a minute ago and the simplicity of that before you really know what you're doing. Like children's refrigerator art is sometimes the most beautiful and profound. I've been trying to get back to that guy, for 32 years.
I absolutely have been trying to get back to that. And I go back to the early, so Brett and I play these songwriter shows all over the country. That's fun. Songwriter City, we do these things and we go and we do our 4 to 10 biggest songs that we have. And you talk about those songs and half of them are 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. The ones that didn't go number 1 that still mean more than they did. And then so researching a little bit in that era of our writing, it's some of my favorite things that we ever wrote that even weren't hits were in that era because we didn't know any better.
Right.
And you just let it fly. And then you get the worst thing that happens when you're crafting and that works.
I know. That's
and
scary.
then you spend 2 more years crafting, and you realize that was just an aberration. And by the way, my parents always just were like, that's not a job. You're not, no way to make a living. So anything I can do in this business to make money, it feels like a win. And so you write a few songs, and it's not that they're bad. It's just that they didn't come from anywhere very deep. You didn't have to scour your soul for it at all. And it kind of works. So you try to repeat that. Hey, we need another one of those.
Right.
That's just terrible words from a whatever, a co-writer or a publisher or whatever. And it keeps you from doing that. I really love the old writing, and I try to, a little bit. We're writing with this really young guy, and the past year, Brett and I have kind of only written with this kid. Just basically, that's about all we do.
Yeah.
Or Brett's doing a little bit more than I am, but like that's just saving my mojo for this. And
Right.
it feels like we're in a band again. And
Wow.
I'm 18 years old, and we're just writing for the band. And there's no one there to say no except for the 3 of us writing these songs. And
That's fantastic.
the record company loves them all. That's just been released. The audience loves them all. And it doesn't really matter. The creative juice comes from us. If we're jumping up, high-fiving and loving this song,
Yeah.
then it's getting a shot versus the constant auditioning we're doing with our art, you know. And if people knew what the batting average was, it's pretty discouraging. It's one thing to not be successful, but it's another thing to not be successful when you're already selling out. Like if I'm unsuccessful with something that meant something to me, I'm like, it was art, it meant something. But if I'm trying my best to sell out and just be a crafting hack, and that doesn't work, whew, you feel like a loser.
A double whammy.
Yeah, double whammy. So if you're writing things that matter, it's just a little easier to take.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of your career. You've never been the hottest writer in town.
Right.
You're just the best. You know what I mean? And that's arguable with people, but you haven't ever settled for
Well,
commercial
I
success.
have tried. Honestly, I really have. I've chased it for years and unsuccessfully. And, you know, I think we all want to be somebody that we're not. Actors want to be songwriters, and songwriters want to be actors, and producers want to be directors.
Athletes want to be rappers. And
Yes, it's just so.
Songwriters want to be podcasters.
Well,
How ridiculous is that?
this is a good use of your time and resources.
I think it has been. If we started this off saying if one person were helped from this, then that would be the reason for doing it. And I'm like, well, we succeeded because that one person might have just been me.
Wow.
You know, but there's the one.
Yeah.
And certainly that's an element. But as we move along, you raise your children, you're in Nashville, you know, whatever. And it's like, what would you do to reinvent yourself, whatever? And you made this movie. I mean, I guess we've skipped a lot of stuff. I don't want to skip over, but you've just always written, we'll circle around because I don't ever have. But like literally the path you take, you just don't ever go for the normal, the easy. And somehow in your creative brain, you came up with this insane movie that is absolutely every single writer on earth needs to watch.
Well,
you probably need to watch yourself sometimes.
I should go back. I probably haven't seen it in, 2 or 3 years. But again, most things are born out of frustration. So I was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2014, and they gave me 12 minutes for my induction speech. And as Abraham Lincoln said, if you want me to give a long speech, I can give it right now. If you want a short speech, it's going to take me some time to prepare. So I worked on this 12 minutes for, 6 or 9 months, honestly.
It's freaking amazing.
Well,
so whatever
it kind of came together at the end, but I got an inordinate amount of traction, interest in this 12-minute speech. Somebody just happened to record it on a phone, and it's a shaky video, and it went viral. And, many, many people have seen it, and people would talk to me about it for years. They'd be like, wow, that was a great speech. And in some ways, it always felt like a backhanded compliment. It's almost honestly like saying Little Rock's the greatest song I've ever written. Like that, I appreciate
You're
that.
offended, aren't you?
But, well, I mean, it'd be like, How We Don't Care is the greatest song you've ever written. Well, okay, but that was 15 years ago. It's like, that's not, anyway.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the 12-minute speech is like, great. There's nothing I can really do with that. I don't know. I didn't know where it could sit. I went to see Bruce Springsteen on Broadway in 2018. I paid $900 for a ticket. I love Bruce Springsteen. And he had 2.5 hours of stories and just telling his story, his life story, interwoven with his songs. I came back from seeing that and I thought, I now know what to do with this 12-minute speech. I'm going to kind of turn it into it's called performance storytelling. And it was a great relief to take that kind of frustration, but something that I did know was great. I just didn't know what to do with it. And my son Tommy and I turned it into an hour script with stories and songs. And it was one of the few things that I could do that I didn't have to ask permission. It's kind of like you and Brett going to, do your songwriter shows. It's just, hey man, you give me a guitar and an audience and a mic and I'm good to go. I could take this. It now was an hour presentation performance with just a piano and a microphone, and I could just kind of tell my story. But it really was the literary device was a letter to a young, desperate songwriter that is trying to quit. And so that was kind of the literary overlay of my speech.
Was there an actual letter?
There was an actual letter.
Oh, okay.
And so I just thought that'll be an interesting way to talk about, the creative experience. I would tell him of my, circuitous journey in this letter. So that was, a literary device was it was very helpful. Like once I had that, I was like, okay, I'm actually just writing a letter to the guy and I'm going to tell him my story about how I survived all the failure. But thank you. So I did this performance hundreds of times.
When you weaved your songs into the story,
yeah,
and you're telling it, it's fabulous. I can't possibly give it enough.
It just, as you know, most things don't come together. Occasionally, a few things they just kind of fall together, and you wish that you could figure out how to make that happen more, but. It just came together, and it does work. And an Irish film director saw my performance, and he said, "I actually know how to make a movie of that." And right when before COVID, we had planned to film this 7 nights over Nashville. The city of Nashville is kind of a character in the film.
Yeah. By the way, the Chamber of Commerce should show that it is a nice.
Yeah,
it is a nice character in the film.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, we filmed it right before COVID shut everything down. And then we took, almost 6 or 8 months and editing it and kind of putting it together. But Michael Lennox is the guy. He's kind of the creative genius behind the film version.
I would love to see the version you and Tommy did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the live performance, and I still do this performance.
I think we opened for one of the first ones you ever did.
In Atlanta.
Yeah, in Atlanta. It was
that was 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
So
best year of my life. I'll never forget it. It was great. But I remember sitting there because you mentioned that what you were doing. I was just sitting there going, oh my God, am I crazy or does this need to be a movie? I'm never right about anything. I told Taylor Swift no one wanted to hear songs about high school. Shit, I said that.
Did you guys write with her?
Oh yeah, we wrote about 5 or 6 songs with her when she was 14, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, she called us through a manager, but she called us and said she was recording one of the songs we had written and doing a duet with Keith Urban. So it's on one of her.
You are kidding! I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have one, and then she sang on "Highway We Don't Care," but she recorded one of those songs. We wrote 6 songs with her back when she was 14, and I was sitting in a room with her and told her, hey, I don't, she had all these ideas about high school class and math class. And when I was like, I don't think anyone wants to hear songs about high school. Brett's like, well, that comment cost me about $8 million.
Wow.
I mean, pre-Taylor Swift, would you have thought anyone wanted to hear songs
No,
of high school?
absolutely not.
I just was like, I couldn't be less interested in this. Write some love songs. Anyway, I digress. It's my bad on that. But when you were doing that show in Atlanta, I was like, this is more than just like, people need to see this. And so it's pretty crazy that.
Well, yeah, and I still do it. You know, I do a lot of corporate events when people, like a wealth management company, if they're having a seminar somewhere, instead of having somebody come talk about economic forecasting, I'm really just telling a story. And when everybody loves a story, as we talked, and everybody has a story, but when you tell your story, if you tell it properly, what happens is it's not really about me. It actually should take you, the audience, into your story. And from a corporation standpoint, when I tell my story, then you do a Q&A with the CEO afterwards. It allows them to tell their story to their clients or their employees, like, hey, we got a story. And sometimes it is kind of interesting. You'll do these Q&A and you see it in the CEO's face. We do have a story, but we're not telling it.
Yeah.
And when you're not telling your story, everybody forgets who they are, where they're from, and what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, the power of narrative and story is
100%. So it's not unlike what Brett and I do, these songwriters, corporate shows for this Songwriter City thing. And we tell stories. They're not even always related to the song.
Exactly.
They love the stories.
Yes, right.
And the guy that Mike, our friend that owns the company, books us, he goes, tell the stories.
Yeah.
Spend more time. We'll go for an hour and play 5 songs.
Yeah.
And Q&As just kind of go on. And to me, that's fascinating how this relates to regular business. I can imagine seeing Love Tom.
Yeah.
If you're willing to focus, let me ask you this. Does it take a lot out of you? Like that, it's not just like it's one thing to go play your songs. It's another thing to throw that all out and tell your story. Does it take?
You know, it depends. It depends on the audience. If there is a lot of psychic, emotional pain in the room, it really doesn't matter where I am. I could be with 300 people or 1,000. If there is that in the room, I feel that. I transfer it, and I get very, very emotional. I did it for a very small group the other night. There were only 17 people. And there was, as soon as I walked in, I felt this palpable. There was a sadness in the room. I just felt it. And it was strange, but I mean, I started and literally, within 2 minutes, 2 people were weeping. But it really wasn't what I was doing. There was just, it's kind of the power of narrative that makes people very emotional because it takes them back on their own journey.
Does that give you more energy to do it, or does it take energy from you, or does it just make the experience more emotional?
That was exhausting because literally halfway through, this 19-year-old kid stood up and said, "Can I say something right in the middle of my performance?" And and he said, "I want to thank you all. I want to stay in touch, but I have to go. My grandfather has just died." And that was in the room. I didn't know what it was when I went in, but I felt it there. And I left there feeling like I'd run a marathon. So what I'm saying is when we perform for these groups, we're really, it's a gift, but it is a burden to carry the emotional weight of that room.
Oh yeah. Well, let's talk about God in that. I always want to get your, how I was raised. Anyone who watched this podcast knows how I was raised. And I love my parents' family and church that I grew up in at the same time. I love getting perspective on that. Like there's something to me, and especially after the loss that we've experienced, when I get emotionally into a night or something, and it wears me out, but I love it. It's like a great workout versus a crowd that's not really paying attention and you working them. That is much more exhausting to my mojo. Yes. The other one wears me out physically, what you're talking about, but it would literally kind of inspires me to kind of want to do it. And ours is more of a comedy show when we're doing our thing. But the spirituality, like what you've always Well, since I met you, like I never met anyone that could have one beer until I met you. So still the strangest thing to me. You are a Christian Presbyterian? Yes. Presbyterian, which I love Presbyterians. They like one drink and it looks so good. They take all night to drink it. And, just sweet, godly thing, but it's not like an overriding, you don't lead with your dogma. Right. Whereas I come from a place where when you lead with your dogma, you just walk in a room and start speaking in tongues and make everyone feel really uncomfortable, right. and then introduce yourself as the translator to Jesus if you'd like to meet him quickly. And it was really refreshing for me to be with you. And it had a lot to do with me getting sober. I don't know if we've talked about that ever, but your personality, who you are as a human being, and the way that you presented art and life and did life with your family and your wife was encouraging to me as someone to get sober, because it was so practical, for lack of a better word. You've always managed to put God in your songs, but not in a religious way. What's that journey been? Or is that something you don't even think about? Does it just show up because that's how you're so writing honestly?
Well, I have heard people say that. I don't, it's never, it's not intentional. I think writing and even performing it's a cathartic exercise. I think we have this thing that as creative people that we have to release somehow, some way. And so the artistic creative endeavor, I think, that's the release. I think that's why I do it. It has to find its way some way, and that's just the way it finds itself out. I have, and I know you'll think I'm being disingenuous, but I've written over 3,000 songs. I literally have written the same song 3,000 times. I have a protagonist. He is broken. He is looking for some way to get healed, to try to find some type of redemption. He's actually running in the opposite direction. God chases him down, and he is safe for that 3.5 minutes. It's the same story. I never tire of it. That's the way I feel. I am acutely aware of my own incredible depravity and my incredible brokenness. I'm very aware of that.
So all that spiritual insight I got from you all these years was just a character to get you rich.
You know what? I've never thought of it like that, but I think that's true.
I know what you, by the way, it's not the same song, but I do know what you mean. And there, Brett and I had a co-writer for a while. We had this character and we called him Hank Moody because it was Hank Moody from that show, Californication. And we just wrote as that guy, that crazy. And we got more cuts out of that just because we honestly wrote this character.
Yeah,
and we just became that. I kind of missed that. And that's where here's the difference between your mercenary writing and everyone else's that I know. Certainly my own. I'll just speak for ours. We would go and try to, and by the way, we are in a service industry. We're here to help someone get where they're going. But we would go into a room and try to help someone get there. We would go to them and help them get their thing to where it wanted to be. And there's a certain level of sarcasm in our writing that kind of comes across, and there's a style to it. And I don't, act like that's not part of it, but we're kind of helping them get where they want to go. You're such a unique writer that people would come to you and take your journey. It's a little bit different. Yeah. Because they and here's another thing. When you said you didn't have enough talent to get there, it's ridiculous in a way, but I also know what you mean. You do what you do. Yeah. And there's limitations breed creativity. You haven't ever tried to be, maybe it's because you couldn't be someone else or didn't, but you haven't tried to ever to be someone else. And so that definitely puts your lane. Like when people come to write with Tom Douglas, they know they're in for a journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's very specific, and I mean, if you, it works maybe, 1 out of 10 times.
That's great odds in our business.
I guess. I mean, it works maybe 10 times a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. In people knew the batting averages that we have. And if everything worked, then you'd be Mark Zuckerberg and it would just be like, I just spit out. But it is like inspiration. You have to, what's the Jack London quote where you have to go after it with a club? Inspiration doesn't happen upon you. You have to go after it with a club.
Okay.
It isn't. We don't sit in a room and just, I'm so great. Give me a time.
Right.
Oh, there it is. And I mean, we do have to search for it. It's ugly sometimes. It's very much as making sausage at certain points. But I didn't know if there was ever a back to the spiritual element, like if there was an intentional, it wasn't ever intentional. Or is that just because you're writing kind of honestly from what's...
Well, yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, I am, literally, I am saved by literally the grace of God, I bring nothing to it. And so, I mean, there is a surrender. I mean, that there's a real humility to it. It's not that I'm not a humble person, but it's humbling. I just think to live in this day and age, it's just humbling. I think it's so hard. It's so difficult. I never really feel like that. I never feel that great about what I'm doing. It's so difficult, I think, that I can't really imagine thinking, I really feel great about this. I feel great about the next year. I feel great. I'm
not sure we're supposed to feel that great about it. I've become very comfortable with being uncomfortable on this earth. Yeah. This is not our home.
Right.
If it's truly not, we don't all go to church, but we all, we read the Bible, we believe in God, we go to church. And then we try to make this life something that was never promised to be. Yeah. We're constantly striving to turn this into something it wasn't. It's not supposed to be comfortable. John the Baptist got his head cut off. That's how he ended. You know what I mean? Jesus was crucified. This isn't supposed to be all that comfortable. And I don't want to turn this into some death-defying, negative thing. It's not negative. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is the greatest. Sage, when our son passed away, he left me with gifts. Many gifts. And one of those gifts is the realization that this is not it. Mm-hmm. I now have something over there that means just as much to me as anything here.
Yeah.
And maybe more, but I don't look for this to be, I don't look for the perfect year anymore. Yeah. I'm cool with 2019 being my perfect year because I don't need a perfect year.
Yeah.
My perfect year is way in the future when when there is no time. And I feel like sometimes we're trying to make this all perfect.
I think that's well said. I know that maybe one of the greatest themes in all of Scripture is suffering. I mean, from the Garden of Eden, the suffering that Adam and Eve had, that it caused God, and suffering usually comes with a blood sacrifice. Something has to die for something to live. And, through Abraham, through the Psalms are just replete with honest groanings and, screaming at God. I mean, and like you said, I mean, you look at Moses, you look at Noah, you look at Solomon. I mean, suffering is just, it's the theme. It's the theme in life that I think honestly really unites us. Maybe that's the thing that if you really look at your relationships with people with whom you have a close relationship, it's because you're really united together almost in suffering. You understand suffering.
I have relationships with people now that wouldn't be possible without suffering.
Yeah.
And they're the relationships that mean the most to me in my life. And I brought this book up on another podcast already, but a friend of mine sent me a book. It's just by a pastor's wife, and it's called Highly Favored. And they lost a child, and she goes through scriptures. It's fascinating. And characters that are called highly favored. Mary, highly favored one. And she goes about Mary's life. Not a great life.
Not an easy
Not
life.
easy at all. and Ruth and Esther and Joseph and David and what their lives were. And that highly favored does not mean everything goes well.
Right.
Highly favored does not mean popular. Highly favored doesn't mean that you die a nice calm death with your family around holding your hands at the end. Highly favored means a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. A man acquainted with grief and sorrows. I mean, that's who Jesus was. You know, he's a man of sorrows. It's like the savior of the world is that.
And it's interesting because of when we talk about losing a child, it's the worst thing that you can imagine. Like, it's the worst thing. And it's the one thing God shows that to have, I can't go, oh, you don't know what that's like. Because he's like, I do know what it's like. Wow. And I'm like, that's no accident that he chose that thing.
Right.
And so what a great responsibility. Jimmy Lee Sloas.
Yes.
A bass player, my friend. He's one of my greatest friends. He's like, what a wonderful responsibility God chose us for something very special to do and live this. I mean, those guys are they're some of my favorite people in the world because they know pain. Right. And therefore they know beauty. And it's so funny. And this is the room we sit in with this group. And everyone has a little bit of trouble like striving in their career after this event. Things get placed in the right perspective a little bit, where it's like the things that mattered so much don't matter as much. Maybe they don't matter at all. Yeah. I remember one time you had a hit or something going well, and someone said to you, "Oh, you deserve it, Tom," and you said, "I deserve hellfire and damnation." Mm-hmm. But my brother's had a thing recently. He's like, why this? Why me? Why my child having this struggle? Why? And he's just said, "Why not me?" Wow. Why not? Like, how do I think I'm going to be so favored that I don't have these struggles? Because to be perfectly honest, the worst things that have ever happened to me have made me incredibly better and more effective, and certainly more in service of people around me. Amen. So how could I not be in that? I think that the things that you went through, I do want you to talk a little about your father, because I know there was an addiction there, and obviously I struggle with that, turned you into the honest poet you are, where you know how to write that thing. Yeah. Yeah. So my father was, he always had a kind of a predisposition towards, a melancholy behavior. And he broke his arm when I was 10. And so that was 1963, and got addicted to whatever the equivalent would be of opioids in 1963. And he, some people, man, he hit it. The first time he hit it, he just loved it. Loved everything about it. And there's probably very little help for that right there. Oh, they didn't understand that addiction, it was black sheep, black mark. And, he had to go to a sanitarium, and then, it was just, my mother had to cover for him, and he recovered, for the majority of my childhood and early life. He did recover, and then he retired, and, then all hell broke loose because he didn't have a job. He didn't have a purpose. Men need a purpose. We need work. And he lost his purpose. And he got back on sleeping pills, and then uppers. And then it was almost a 20-year roller coaster of just ups and downs and addiction and hospitals and shock treatments and you name it. It was... And that was even before recovery was the thing, some of that, right? Or early days of it. He died in 1996. So it was, you see those movies. We just saw Hoosiers the other night again. Dennis Hopper. Crazy. So, what they used to do is just put you in a hospital and you just dry out with delirious tremens with no plan on how to not do it again. No. Yeah, that's kind of what happened to my father. It was just like, but by the grace of God, literally, he did recover the last 3 years of his life, and he kind of got over it. He was freed from it. It was miraculous. It wasn't anything that
any pill or a doctor did. I think God actually delivered him from
God
that.
is part of every recovery.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're an atheist. God was part of your recovery.
Yeah.
It absolutely is a spiritual thing. It is a spiritual program that's a kind of a choice, which is salvation is too. No, it's involved in all of that. When you're going through that as a kid with your dad, sanitarians, whatever, does that spawn your creativity?
I think you develop an empathy and an understanding that is uncommon.
I think maybe that's why you could tolerate Brett and I
right.
when we were. I mean, you are a family man with this beautiful young family, pressed clean white shirt that you alluded to in your songs before. And we are hellions.
Yeah.
Just scratching the surface of what's about to be a really serious drug and alcohol problem.
Yeah.
And somehow we hit it off like quickly.
Yeah. I get it. I think people project certain things that are not really there. I understand. I understood then. I understand now why you guys were like you were, what you were projecting. But that didn't really define you guys to me. Why
do you think we were projecting it?
Well, I think you were projecting it from the way that you were raised. I mean, you were rebelling against almost everything in your past. And so it was like, I'll show you. So you were going to do everything opposite of what they said that you couldn't do.
Absolutely. 100%.
So, I was like, I don't think you have to have a PhD to understand that. It's like, I get it. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, that was just, and also, people in certain relationships are different. Like that may have been who you were with other people at the Bunganut Pig, that part of your personality, but that's not who you were with me. When we just closed the door, it was just three guys trying to write it.
Yeah, and the truth is, we were not bad people. Your behavior is going to get a certain amount bad when you put enough alcohol and drugs or something. But truly, we were trying to get out of something. And you get a running start to jump through the window of something, and you go through 5 windows.
Right.
We were going through too many windows.
Yeah.
And truly, and the truth is, there's always a God-centered thing about where we were. I would look in the mirror and be like, by the way, we spent a lot of time worried about going to hell. And I would just look in the mirror and be like, you're going to hell. And tell myself that. And it's the craziest thing. It never altered my behavior. One bit. The love of my family.
Right.
The love of my children specifically. Because honestly, my poor lovely wife at the time, I thought it was all her fault. I don't know why. She just refused to enable me. But it was my children that softened me enough to be like, to look in the mirror and say, oh, I need to change. I do this. But the whole threat of hell, which seems like it would be worse than being a bad father.
Right.
Didn't change my behavior at all. I'm like, whatever.
It is weird as you look back. God always changes our behavior and disciplines us with love instead of discipline. That's what changes us.
That is so true. And there's a handful of men along our path that you, Al Andrews, that literally just kind of loved us like we were, kind of knowing that we were gonna. This is the stage. Yeah, I see your heart.
I think we all knew where you're gonna be.
Yeah, there's always the option of not getting there. You have it every day. I guess I have it today. So do you. But kind of to know there. But man, I'm so grateful for that because I just kind of was, and some of it's how I have a little more baggage than any of my siblings. So some of it's how you take it. I take everything too seriously or too to heart. But wherever you were at that moment was exactly how you were being looked at. And if you were, if you smelled like cigarette smoke, you were going to hell. You know what I mean? The poke in the chest from whatever it was from way back. And I kind of carried that with me. So I wasn't going to give you any reason to think I was good about anything. It's just, a lot of it's just a bunch
complicated.
Complicated, but it's also posturing.
But it's also simple.
And allowing the people trying so hard to introduce you to God to keep you from him. At some point I went, wait. And I really found Jesus and God when I got sober. I really did. I mean,
Yeah.
I really did. That was this almost 20 years ago. And it's like literally, and it was always right. I always knew him. We were always there, but
Right.
a relationship. But man, when losing a child, that thing came right up front. And your faith is tested in so much of the way that this is the opportunity you have to double middle finger, and everyone will kind of enable you.
Right.
They'll understand. They have every reason to do that.
Right.
And at the moment it happened, I felt closer to God than I ever had. And I wouldn't say that I don't have questions, but I haven't been mad at God. I'm like, hey, dude, we're doing this. Me and you all the way out. We'll talk about this when we get there. It's, making that run. But I'm so grateful that I didn't have to go through whatever was waiting for me on the other fork in the road. Because that would have been ugly.
That would have been ugly.
Yeah. They say addiction doesn't just pick up where it left off. It picks up where it would have been had it been traveling the whole time. That's what they say. And I've watched it before, and it's not good.
Wow.
People that have been sober a long time that pick up, they die a lot. Not all the time, but often.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a very, very dangerous game to be playing. And I'm just so grateful that never looked like an option. Yeah.
That is haunting.
It's haunting. Serious business. I sit here and think about your poor father, and at that in 1963, there just weren't a lot of answers. And now, one of the things that, whatever my life is to become is I just try to destigmatize that completely.
Yeah. Right.
We're all addicted to something.
Oh gosh.
Get over yourself.
Absolutely. Oh, it's, yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, you and I have said this before, but anytime you see some man that has a spectacular moral failing on TV, I don't think, or you think, gosh, how did he do that?
I think we do it every day.
How have I not done that?
Only through the grace of God and some decisions. I always say with sobriety, I put a lot of barriers between me and the first drink.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like if I have one bad day, like meetings, sponsoring people, accountability to my wife, open phones or whatever those things might be, a lot of barriers between, and I think that will go for anyone. Have a lot of barriers between you. But if I take those barriers down and I have one barrier left and it takes over, my natural instinct is to be the failing. Yeah. I mean, there is certainly a grace for the person. In fact, when everyone jumps on someone, I start liking them. Right. You know what I mean? That's like, I'm like, okay, now you're getting, because I've been jumped on a little bit before, but you kind of have that thing. You're one of the people that has brought that grace into my life and story. This business and what we do. I'm not going to ask how old you are because I forget all the time. But
72.
72. Okay, so you're 72 years old. You're still just brilliant doing it. Whatever. Do we ever exit this business? Is there ever a time when that voice quiets and says, "You've written enough"? Will ever be a time you've written enough songs, Tom? Put the pen down.
Maybe some. I mean, some clearly have. Some great ones like Bob McDill. He just decided I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't think you and I ever will, because it's really what we're called to do. It's kind of part of our ministry. It's our calling. It's just the way that we're built. I mean, it may manifest itself in different ways.
Maybe do it less.
Yeah, maybe
make it more special.
Maybe but no, I will die with a pen in my hand.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, it's like I love it. And it's just, it's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not gonna not do something that I know literally God told me to do. Like, this is it. No.
There's more than one thing about, like, I feel that way about exercise. Like, I hope to drop a barbell on my neck when I'm 85. Right. And that's the way I'd like to go, or whatever it might be.
Right.
Just whatever it is, like movement, I would just as soon not be here if I wasn't moving. Now, I mean, you find different reasons for whatever. And I think maybe that's our brain's exercise, is that we have to do that at some point.
But, talking about the business of music, I love the music business. I think it's fascinating. I've always been interested in it. it's certainly changed a lot, in the last, since 1996, obviously. I am still very hopeful about, even though I'll contradict what I said earlier, I'm very hopeful about, making a living as a songwriter. I have, a daughter and son-in-law that are all writing songs. So
super talented.
I'm very encouraged about that, and I encourage them to do it. It doesn't mean that you won't have to have a side hustle to support your passion, which is very honorable to do.
Do you think this is going to be a second job?
I don't know. We have a friend, Travis Hill, said this is the greatest part-time job in the world. It's the worst full-time job.
Yeah, it's this or a Walmart greeter
right.
as we go out. Yeah, I figure if I can.
So I don't know. But I also do believe if the art is compelling, we will get paid.
I'll tell you, there's some. I think there are a few solutions, and I don't know. One of the things is that Brett and I have discovered is if you're a performer and you're a songwriter, I don't want to be a recording artist. There's zero part of me that wants to be a recording artist.
Yeah.
But I love to play.
Yes.
I love playing guitar.
I love it too.
And it's my favorite thing to do. So being a performing songwriter that is our second job. Maybe it's our first job now, actually, depending on what you're doing. And then there's also finding something that you believe in and becoming part of that master recording and not just being the songwriter,
right.
But it's going to require a little creativity, more than just you probably have never turned on AI while you're writing, but more than just going.
I think AI is an awesome tool.
Tell me this is what I think about AI. I'll let it bring up something that my mind wouldn't have gone to.
Yes.
And it doesn't, I don't ever put what comes up from there, but it sends my brain in a different direction, a word I wouldn't have used. Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I think you stated it well. It's just, hey, I don't know. It's like Pro Tools.
It's never going to write a great song though, is it?
No, I mean,
that's the human thing about greatness.
Yeah. Right. I have a friend, Richie Sessions, who's a pastor, and he says the difference between AI and songwriters is AI is made in the image of man. Creativity is made in the image of God. And therein lies the difference.
Yeah. So that is kind of a spiritual thing with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the beginning, God created. The first sentence in the Bible talks about creativity. So we are just carrying on, that creative spark that started thousands of years ago.
So this isn't a question I planned, but when you brought up your daughter and your son-in-law, both of who I've written many songs with, they're very talented. What would you, and this is just coming to me now, it sounds like a what's your favorite color question in an interview. What would you say to because I know what I say to them, which is go get another job unless you can't do this. But what do you say to a young songwriter? Like, I'm going to do this, so that's settled.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to do it, I would say, get after it. It's just write the next song. And, the realities of life really make decisions for you, the cruel realities of life. Money is really a wonderful objective standard. Mm-hmm. If you don't have enough money to do this, if somebody's not willing to pay you, then you need to do something else in addition to this, which is, again, very honorable. In some ways, the worst thing that could be is some kid shows up here and you give him $22,000 and say, go sit in a gray cubicle and write. I mean, that literally that's the kiss of death. The best thing would be go work at a Walmart or a Starbucks or anywhere, be an Uber driver, because that's where life and the stories
have something to write about.
Have something to write about. So I would say if you're going to do it, do it. It's unorthodox. It's wonderful and horrible all at the same time. But
I'll never forget our old buddy Harlan Howard, the old Hall of Fame songwriter. Back in the day, I forgot what that was. Was it the Longhorn where he had the seat that he sat in every day? So we're sitting there.
The Sunset Grill.
No, this is the Longhorn.
The Longhorn too.
Longhorn.
Okay.
So there's maybe there wasn't a seat for him, but he was there a lot. Right there where Chewy's and all that is now. And this kid was complaining about I can't get any cuts and whatever it was. And we do it. I love talking to you because I don't want to complain about this. It's great business. It's allowed me to make money and being creative without, I haven't worn a belt in like 15 years. You know what I mean? It's not every job you can do that in. Forget a tie. I haven't worn a belt in 15 years. I hate belts. But this guy was complaining at the long branch of the Longhorn, and Harlan just took a puff of his cigarette and goes, "Nobody sent for you, kid."
That's
and it's
cruel.
Like, I could leave here. You could even leave here, and you have been very important to this town. I think I said everything would carry on. There would be music.
Yeah,
there we go. I'm lucky to be the tiniest spoke in this wheel, the tiniest part of the machine. Nobody sent for it. You don't have to do this for it. And you chose to do this. And so there's sometimes when the negativity sit around, I'm like, first of all, I try to tell the young writers about mechanical royalties that we used to get, and they're so jealous. We used to have a song on a hit record and was never a single, and it made, if you think about it, we were overcompensated for a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Now we're undercompensated. Right. We've gotten to experience a little bit of both, but the new writers, it's tough, but you need to be a guitar player in somebody's band.
Yeah.
You need to find an artist that you're going to produce and be part of their thing. You need to play live and do it, or you need to write books while you're doing it. It may, like you said, it's a job that would lead you to a platform maybe in other jobs. Yeah. But it is getting harder for this to be, it's a little crazy. It's harder for this to be.
Yeah. I just don't, I honestly, maybe it's ivory tower. I won't entertain that. I don't even want to have that discussion. I will have it, but it's always been hard. I was a real estate broker, and I would just go screw around, on a grand piano on early Saturday mornings just because I loved it, and I just thought it was fun, and I did it because, I had to. I think to even, again, put material considerations on this is somehow it takes all the fun out of it for me. If it's great, somebody will use it. If it's not, then somebody's not going to use it. You hear a lot of people talking about the publishers are not doing a good job. Nobody's really booking my calendar. I don't have good co-writes. And this does sound harsh to say, but the reason why you don't have good co-writes or anything interesting on your calendar is because nobody really wants to write with you. You have not written a song that says, I want that guy. I want what that is. The reason why people honestly want to write with me is because I want to write The House That Built Me Part 2. That's
every day.
It's a very mercenary, transactional relationship. It just is. Million percent.
I was in a room with a guy one time and said, and I was just the fly on the wall because they were both did the talking. One guy was like, God, my publisher needs to get me into better rooms. And the other writer said to him, why don't you be the better room?
That's it.
And if there's a little bit of, there is no blame. You're right. If you do something great, they'll figure it out. And we are sitting around trying to put ourselves, I have trouble these days talking about who's cutting, why they're cutting. I like to write with the artist because then but boy, if we just try to be great and don't worry about who's in the room, to be honest, we've had most of our success with not the biggest writers. We've written with everyone as you have. Your success has come from you and Alan Chamberlain spending 7 years on one song or whatever it might be. And being willing to continue to readdress something. Our favorite thing is we call it the Tom Douglas post in a song when you're writing. And at the end of the song, you just keep writing because there's just more that I wanted to say. And I'm not finished yet. And so I go, oh, you're going to do the Tom Douglas post?
Yeah, that's right.
And, which is good when you have things named after you. I hope you take that as an honor and
I take that as a compliment.
Not a slight. It's amazing. But there is a little bit too much of like, put me in the right situation. Put me in the right situation. And the truth is like, I have to be the right situation.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a songwriter, that's what it, there are many ways to do it. There are many ways to do this, but if you really are literally, and it sounds like I'm being too exclusive, but if you literally are just a pure songwriter, then you got to be a pure songwriter. I mean, you can be an editor, you can be a track guy, you could be an engineer, you could be, there's some people who just, they're just vibe. I mean, they just kind of make you feel better by being in the room.
No doubt.
And there's a great,
some of the best songwriters I've ever been with can't sing or play.
Yeah.
I didn't get that at first. I really was like, well, how can that be? You don't sing or play. Absolutely was wrong about that. But we each add something to the room. Yeah. Guys like you absolutely can do something that's completely by yourself. And it's just amazing. But also co-writing keeps us from repeating ourselves as much.
That's true.
Somebody will check us on that. So there's brilliance in both. Doing things by yourself, editing, writing other things, doing something like this for me, writing a book. It's just good for our head to spread out there. And I don't even want to sit and, I don't love every new thing that's out, but I kind of like the singer-songwriter vibe that's out there where they're not thinking too hard about it. And I'm like, this is just
I am
refreshing.
A fan of country music. I think it's exciting from Zach Bryan to Zach Top. I mean, it's just
a lot of space between those two as well. And they're both very hip. And,
I love it.
And not really like at all. I like the idea that everything doesn't have to make sense anymore. Because I'll tell you this, I always say that when we're writing with an artist, and I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think you will. I said, I don't care if it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
It has to make sense to us.
Exactly. I love that.
If we know what we're talking about, I don't care if it's foreign to them.
Yes.
But we can't just spit words out that don't mean anything. As long as you know what you're talking about, they'll feel it.
I think you're exactly right. It's an emotion more than content.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're an absolute blessing to my life and to this town and our business. I'm super grateful to you to be here. We the first podcast we ever did was with you, and it didn't turn out because it took me 2.5 years to call you back and say, hey, can we do that again?
I thought maybe I was just so bad that.
No. I ask everyone that comes on here a 2-part question, and it's what is the worst thing that's ever happened to you? And the second part is, and what is the best thing that came out of that?
The worst thing, gosh. Wow. I guess maybe I would, who knows how I would answer it an hour from now, but the first time I really remember it was a Sunday, it was after church, and I was at a Wendy's with my father. I think just the two of us. And he got a napkin and started like drawing this kind of crazy picture on a napkin. And it didn't make any sense to me. And what he was saying didn't make any sense. And that was the first time I really remembered, you were an addict. It was devastating. Like, this thing has got you from the inside out. That was the first time I really came to grips with it. And it was evil.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And our dads are our heroes.
Yeah. But literally, it was through that, the next 20 years of, it was that pain and just, seeing somebody you love go through that. I think the collateral damage of your family, having to witness somebody in addiction. I'm not that type of addict. So I can say this just because I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I think the collateral damage of those of us having to witness somebody we love is worse than what it is for the addict. It's horrible. It's just absolutely horrible.
No, you do know what you're talking about. And that is, I mean, to be really pragmatic about it, one thing is you're not high.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The wife at home is not high.
Right.
The kids are not high. So the buffer between the addict and reality, it's not really fair because it's so powerful that you can convince yourself. When I look back 20 years, I'm like, I don't even know that person. That was lived inside me. I can't imagine making that decision when it is. And I think about, oh my God, just the way I smelled when I came home. What must the senses of my little kids been? It's wild. So it is absolutely worse. And especially as a kid, you have no control over that.
Yeah.
You did not make that decision.
Right.
You didn't put yourself in a bad position. You didn't even put yourself in a bad marriage.
Right.
You're just getting raised. Man, I have a heart for, my parents were not addicts. Before my mom ever had one drink, she'd gone off the rails. No doubt. She's a Jesus addict, which is good, but it's also, and she's still an addict. And but they didn't have that thing. I don't know what that's like to feel, but I do remember the first time I figured out that the people in charge of me had some major shortcomings. It was painful and scary. It was scary.
It's like, scary.
Wow, these people are not healthy.
That's what it was. I was scared.
The person in charge of me is not in charge of himself.
That was sobering.
And I think that's possibly why we could have maintained a friendship with you. And you've meant so much to my career and life and how I made a living, just that, but also just my family and things, because you had some grace for that thing. Yeah. And you kind of, from that little 10-year-old kid, realized that's not who he is. There's something else that's taken over there. It's funny you said it's evil, but it is. It's evil.
Well, it is. You smell it. If you've been around it, you can taste it, smell it.
Especially now, I feel like I have a sixth sense for it. I can smell booze on any boy. If you have been drinking and you don't want anyone to know, do not come around me because I can smell it. I mean, just the tiniest hint when my children, if they came home from, teenagers, right, and I can smell it a day later. It's like a sixth sense, and you're there. But I feel the darkness when it's coming. I'm overly sensitive to it. I do not mind being around alcohol. I'm fine with going to dinner, but I got a problem with drunkenness. Don't like it because the worst decisions that I ever made or were made around me happened during drunkenness. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be around it. I have a real, and I got to be careful not to turn into my mom with it. It's not, I don't really mind being around. In fact, I think there's a lot of Christians that could probably use a drink. I mean, for sure. But when it slips over to drunkenness, I'm like, this perfectly sane, right, moral, wonderful human being is about to make some bad decisions. Mm-hmm. How bad? I don't know. But that being the worst, that really is it turned into be really the greatest blessing that I have really in my life and from a creative standpoint. So God just takes those horrible, painful, evil things. They meant it for evil. He means it for good. That's kind of what Joseph said, when you sold me into slavery, it's like, you meant it for evil, but God means it for good. So he will redeem it. Well, I'm awfully proud of you and Brett and the lives that you've lived and the recovery and the lighthouse of joy and honesty that you are to everybody you come in contact with. I'm really proud of you guys. I'm proud to call you friends and grateful you call me friends. I'm blessed. We're blessed to have you. We say it all the time, but you have no idea what you've meant to our journey. All of it, from the good to the bad, and yeah, man. Thanks for being here. I couldn't think any more of you, and try to write that perfect song. As soon as I get my taxes done this afternoon, I'm getting you and Jay Joyce in the room together. We're doing that. Yeah, I can't believe that's never happened, but we're doing. I guess maybe I've met him once. His brother and I were friends, but yeah, it'll either be great or we'll just. Either way, it'll be great. Because here's the thing about a bad song: no one ever has to hear it. But just Well, we'll. No, ask me that question. I want to hear what you're. Does he write? Yeah. We wrote our first hit ever with him, the lucky one with Faith Hill. Oh gosh, yeah, first hit we ever had. Yeah, he does write. He doesn't write all the time, but when he's in it, man, you talk about a creative experience. I think that it would just be phenomenal. Oh, you would think he's just a genius. I mean, he's like you. He's like one of the greatest guitar players ever, right? He's a home run hitter. So it's either going over the fence or it's like, what is that? Interesting. Okay. His music is like your lyrics. They're the greatest thing ever, but sometimes you strike out. You know what I mean? 9 out of 10. No, it's not 9 out of 10. Brilliant. I love you, dude. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Good job. Wow.
Wow.
So good. Wow.
I'm amazed I didn't break down weeping at some point.
I know. I kept a couple times.
I kept thinking
I
I'm
got
going
close,
to.
but I didn't.
That's honestly, on my way over here, I just thought, if I do, I just got to go with it. I cannot believe I did not start.
I have bawled on here before, and I don't really care anymore.
No, it's very.
But I love getting to the point today. There were times where tears would come up my eyes, but it was just all happy. It wasn't like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was wide ranging for sure. So
I love wide
I hope
ranging.
we
I don't know
hope
about
it
everybody
made
else.
sense.